أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين حبيب إله العالمين أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد وآله الطاهرين. My condolences on the arrival of the night of the Ashir. May Allah give us tawfiq to remember Imam Hussein more on this night and tomorrow, inshallah. This is going to be our last talk tonight. Alhamdulillah, we made it this far. Talked about the love of Ahlul Bayt, talked about the conditions for that love, talked about all the good things that come about as a result of that love, talked about how that love can help us even if we don't meet those conditions. Last night I spoke a bit about how if the Ahlul Bayt have really emphasized on action, how some people will go a little overboard as well. And it's unfortunate, but it happens. And it's from misunderstanding that sometimes people have. They'll go overboard in making sure others are also living up to this model. And make sure to give others a hard time when it's not necessary. Sometimes it's necessary, sometimes it's taklif, it's wajib on you to give others a hard time. That's fine. That's Allah wanting you to do that. But then sometimes you don't need to. And as a matter of fact, it might be discouraged from an Islamic perspective. And what we see out there is that sometimes this happens, and as a result, people are kind of turned off by a center, a community, and sometimes even worse, turned off by Islam and religion itself. This is not a problem just in Islam. There's also a problem that we have in other faiths and organized religions as well. As a result of that, you will hear this line a lot, where people will say, God can only be the one who judges me. We talked about how that is true and false at the same time. Some meanings of that line are true, some are false. Tonight, what we need to talk about a little bit also, after all these 8-9 days that I've been beating you up about how amal, and it's not from me, it's from the Ahlul Bayt. Whatever I shared with you, I shared the references for that as well. Tonight, though, is different. Tonight, we want to go a little bit easier now. Talk about 2 cheat codes, in a sense. 2 cheat codes that we can have that even if I'm not living up to those conditions, that at least I can make a lot out of my love for Ahlul Bayt, and especially Imam Hussein. So, this, when I say cheat code, it doesn't mean that that this will do all the job for us, but it can get us very far, farther than we could think and imagine sometimes. To the extent that a person might have been horrible all their life, maybe done the worst of things, yet one moment Allah will give them, one final chance Allah will give them that He wouldn't have given others who didn't have these cheat codes. I don't think Hur bin Yazid al-Riyahi was a sinner all his life and a very bad person all his life, but he made a very grave mistake when he intercepted Imam Hussein's caravan before they could reach Kufa. If Imam Hussein had reached Kufa, then what would have happened? Things would have been different. There's a big chance that Imam Hussein would have led a revolution there and he would have taken over. But Hur is the one who stopped him. But then we see what happened to Hur. Allah gave him that one last chance. He had a cheat code. I don't like to call it that. It's just so that we can understand what I'm trying to say here. It's not the norm. It's not the rule. And at the end of the day, we're not going to bank totally on it, but we can really, really have hope in it. 2 things we want to talk about tonight. Number one, inshallah, these 2 will give us more hope and more motivation on this path of actions that we want to take throughout our lives. The first one has to do with not losing hope in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as a result of not pushing Allah's buttons. What do I mean by that? There are some things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is very sensitive about. And I speak about this all the time because we need to get this straight in different communities. People have to hear these things. Have a little bit more hope than usual as well. There are certain things that Allah is sensitive about. There are certain things Allah is less sensitive about. Yeah? How do we know? When we look in the Quran, when we look in the ahadith, we find this. That He is more sensitive towards certain things and less sensitive to others. A smart person, if they are going to do things that they know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't like, a smart person will at least choose the ones that Allah is less sensitive about. But what is He very sensitive about? And inshallah none of us have this problem. What is He more sensitive about? Inshallah none of us have gone towards in this direction. There are certain things He wants for Himself. In Nahj al-Balagha, Imam Ali says, Al-Izz wal-Kibriya. Brothers and sisters, we make mistakes all the time in our lives. We make mistakes all the time in our lives, but if we at least, when we make those mistakes, say the right thing in our hearts to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, have the right perspective even regarding this mistake that we made, still there is immense and tremendous hope. They say on Yawm al-Qiyamah, sometimes Allah will send someone off to the Jahannam in the hellfire. Yeah? And this person, as he's going towards the hellfire, he looks back to Allah for a second. This is, of course, metaphorical. And Allah will say, well, what happened? Why'd you look back? He says, I had more hope in you. He says, take him to Jannah. Just like that. The person had the right perspective, and that helped them in the right time. Let's at least fix our perspective when we're messing up in life and making mistakes. I'm not encouraging making mistakes in life. I'm not encouraging us to go against what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants. But let's at least, if we're going to do wrong, let's do wrong in the right way. As ironic as that sounds, and self-contradictory as that sounds. Some things Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants, that He has for Himself, He wants us to also have. So for example, Allah is Al-Jawad. He's the all-giving, the beneficent. He wants us to be like that too. He wants us to be generous to people as well. There are some things though He wants for Himself only. No one else can have this. Why? Because you can't have it. It's impossible. That's Izz and Kibriya, greatness. Greatness belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I want to illustrate something for you. Brothers and sisters, in this world that we live in, we're all beings created by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? Someone is taller, someone is more muscular, someone's stronger. When I look at them from front, what do I see? One is taller, shorter, fatter, skinnier, right? But if someone looks from the top, exactly from the top, what do they see? All you see is four heads. You can't really tell who's taller, shorter. You can't tell that, right? When we look at other existence in the world, in the universe of creation, some are bigger, some are smaller. Yeah. Because we're all on the same plane of existence. With Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He's at another level of existence. He's looking from the top. For us, this person's stronger, weaker, taller, shorter, these kinds of things. For Allah, it's all one thing. These are all creations of mine. The strongest thing you can find on the face of the earth, as a matter of fact, in the universe, is the same in weakness as the weakest thing in the world for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's why He says it's impossible for you to have greatness. Greatness is not in this plane of existence that you're in. It's to your own detriment to try to have these things. Who made the mistake of trying to have that though? In the khutbah of the famous khutbah of Nahj al-Balagha, Imam Ali explains who made that mistake. Who made that mistake? Iblis made that mistake. Look, if you feel like I am something, even if it's insignificant, if I'm something versus Allah, that's the downfall right there. We have to try to reach a point where we actually experience this, and it happens over a long period of time and obedience of Allah, as I've said before. Reach a point where you feel like really, Ana aqallul aqallin, as Imam Sajjad says. I am the lowest of the low, but you're ma'soom, you're the highest. I'm the highest maybe in this plane of existence, but to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we're all aqallul aqallin, we're the lowest of the low. How can someone reach that point? Through obedience and servitude of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, of course. That's what we want to reach. Shaitan, through all of his ibadah and worship that Nahj al-Balagha, I think says 6,000 years he worshipped Allah, he didn't reach that. Why? Because he kept it there, he fostered it, he didn't fight it apparently. I don't know what was wrong with this person. So what happened with Shaitan? Imam Ali calls him out on that thing, the mistake he made, where he didn't prostrate to Adam, but calls him out and points out the reason why he's calling him out. if you're going to disobey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, your disobedience of Allah should be at least in a good way. As ironic as that sounds again, I'm sorry. Yeah? There's hope still. Hur knew what he's doing is wrong. But he had the right perspective at least, that this is Ibn Rasulullah, Ibn bint Rasulullah. This is the son of the daughter of the Prophet. And I am not allowed to disrespect him, his mother Fatima, and all of that. And he passed the test. The worst thing he could do, he did. Yet he still passed the test. Because he made a mistake, but in the right way. I keep saying that. It's a very interesting line and wording that's used here. So what am I talking about? And when I say Nahjul Balagha, I want to read a little bit of it to you. The Imam, he says, Alhamdulillah alladhi labisa al-izza wal-kibriya'a wa ikhtarahuma li nafsihi. You know, when you wear something, when you wear a shirt, you can't have anyone else wear it. When you wear it, it is specific to you. Wearing something means exclusion of everyone else. Right? He says, all praise is due to the one who wore izzah. We all know what izzah means. Greatness and kibriya, greatness. And chose them for himself. Is Allah, God forbid, astaghfirullah that I say this, but is God like a child who wants everything for himself? No, no, no. In this case, he wants it for himself because it's not that he wants it for himself. All greatness is him. Everything other than him is not greatness anymore. There's nothing there. If he's 100, we are not 1, we are 0. Shaitan thought that he was 1. That was Shaitan's problem. He made a mistake in the wrong way. What happened? وَاخْتَارَهُمَا لِنَفْسِهِ دُونَ خَلْقِهِ. He chose these for himself, not for the rest of his creation. وَجَعَلَهُمَا حِمًا وَحَرَمًا عَلَى غَيْرِهِ. These are haram on others than him, other than him. He made a haram on others than him. وَجَعَلَ اللَّعْنَةَ عَلَى مَنْ نَازَعَهُ فِيهِمَا. And put his la'na and curse and damnation upon those who will struggle with him over that thing. You can't. It's impossible. So then he tested his angels. Let me read off of the English, it'll be better. Then he put his angels on trial and put them to the test. And he said, in order to distinguish those who are modest from those who are vain, therefore Allah, who is aware of whatever is hidden in the earth, in the heart, and whatever lies behind the unseen, said, verily I am about to create man from clay. He tells the angels. And when I have completed and have breathed into him of my spirit, then you prostrate. And all of them prostrated except Iblis. This is where Amir al-Mu'mineen continues. That was a verse of Quran. Amir al-Mu'mineen in Nahjul Balagha continues. He says, his vanity stood in his way. Vanity. You think that you're somebody. It doesn't say he got in trouble, he disobeyed God. It says your vanity was the problem. As a result of this vanity, he felt proud over Adam by virtue of his creation and boasted over him on account of his origin, fire. Thus, this enemy of Allah is the leader of those who boast. He's making a point for you and I now, that if anyone out there has this much arrogance in them, this much takabbur that comes from kibriya, takabbur in them, who is the leader of those who had takabbur? Shaitan. So Shaitan is their leader. And where is Shaitan? Shaitan's in the hellfire. And the forerunner of those in vain who have vain. It is he who laid the foundation of factionalism, quarreled with Allah about the robe of greatness. He fought Allah. When you tell Allah, I understand why I shouldn't prostrate to Adam, that is big stuff. You are digging your own grave by saying that. Put on the dress of haughtiness and took off the covering of humility. Do you not see how Allah made him low on account of his vanity and humiliated him because he thought he was high and everything? He discarded him in this world and provided for him burning fire in the next world. So Shaitan, in all of this, does it say that Allah did all of this to him because he disobeyed him? Or does it say the origin of the problem and the root of this punishment is what? The vanity, that takabbur and arrogance. Brothers and sisters, if I'm going to make a mistake, let me make a mistake in the right way. I'm not encouraging mistakes. I'm going to keep saying that. I'm sorry. If I don't, every time I say it, if I don't say that after, that part might be taken out of the speech. You never know. No one's saying to make mistakes, but if someone's going to make a mistake the right way. Astaghfirullah, what is he saying? What is he saying? Let's move on. We find this all over our du'as. We find this all over the sources that we have and the texts and hadiths that we have. For example, Imam Hussein alayhi salam in Dua Arafah, what does he say? He's trying to please God. He's trying to get God's attention as if. Right? Trying to show that you're the best, I'm nothing. He says, In a'udda ni'amak wa minanak, if I try to count your blessings, I won't be able to. Ya Mawlai, oh my master. And then he starts. Anta alladhi an'amt. You're the one who gave blessings. You blessed my life. Anta alladhi ahsant. You did me good. Anta alladhi ajmalt. You made everything beautiful. Anta alladhi afdalt. Anta alladhi akmalt. You perfected. You gave preference. Anta alladhi razaqt. You sustained. Waffaqt. You gave me permission to do good things and be successful. Anta alladhi a'tayt. You gave. Anta alladhi aghnayt. You made me independent. Anta alladhi aknayt. Anta alladhi await. You took me in. Anta alladhi kafayt. You sufficed me. Anta alladhi hadayt. You guided me. All this good stuff you did. You are the best. Then he goes on and he says, as he goes on, there's lots of anta here. Anta. You're the one who did this. You're the one. All the good things, they're you, not me. And then he reaches this with, Thumma ana ya ilahi. As for me, O my master, O my Lord, ya ilahi, al-mu'tarif bi-dhunubi faghfirha li. First of all, let me say it right here. I confess and I admit that I'm at fault. Ana alladhi. I am the one who, and then he starts destroying himself. Ana alladhi asat. I did bad. Ana alladhi akhtat. I made mistakes. Ana alladhi hamamt. I am the one who tried to to do bad things. Ana alladhi jahilt. I had ignorance. Ana alladhi ghafalt. I was heedless. Ana alladhi sahawt. I wasn't paying attention, made mistakes. Ana alladhi i'tamat. Ana alladhi ta'ammat. I purposely did wrong things. It just goes on and on and on. I'm the one who promised. I'm the one who broke the promise. Why is the Imam talking like this? Perspective. If anything is going to happen that makes Allah upset, let me at least let him know that he was right and I was wrong. Did Shaitan do that? Do you find anywhere in the Quran where Shaitan says, I was wrong? Anywhere. You don't. God knows. Maybe if Allah had given him, Allah gave him that opportunity and he had made use of that opportunity and the most of that opportunity, maybe Allah would have forgiven him for disobeying him. But the problem is the arrogance. That's the problem. So if I'm going to make a mistake like Shaitan, God forbid, of course, there's no comparison, but if I'm going to make a mistake like that, then let me at least make sure I do it the right way. That I don't say, oh Allah, I know better. Gosh. Oh Allah, I don't really care what you want from me. Because some people reach that point. If we want to have hope at least, if everything is about a'mal, if everything is about action, if the hadith says that if you are Shia, you are going to be fa'al, you're going to be active and do things, don't just rely on the love. Well, if I make mistakes, what am I supposed to do? At least make the mistakes the right way. And know that you were the problem 100%, and Allah has nothing to do with it. Not that Allah needs that from you. Allah doesn't need that from us. We need that, because the moment I put in myself into the equation as if I'm part of my deliverance and my salvation, that's when I'm going to go down, because I don't have anything. Why is shirk so bad? Shirk is so bad because you're going to the thing that has nothing. Zero. It's not like 70% Allah, 80% Allah, 20% something else. No. 0, 100%. It's true that I don't understand that. It's true that when I go to the doctor and I do dua, oh Allah help me, and the doctor is going to also help me, I'm thinking, okay, 60% Allah had to do with me getting better, 40% the doctor had to do with me getting better. In the book of Tawheed, that is wrong. It is 100% Him. We just don't understand. That's fine. But we can at least say it. We can at least admit that, Allah, it was my fault, and there's nothing wrong with what you're doing, what you're saying, what you want from me. Instead of being like Shaitan to say, no. Let me fix it like this. Let me prove to Allah that He's wrong. No. That's why, like, for example, this is my take on this. Istighfar is mustahab even for the Holy Prophet. Prophet, does he sin? Do the Imams sin? Yet they're doing istighfar every day. Why? It's an ibadah in and of itself. Because at the end of the day, you're not going to let yourself even get close to this understanding and idea of, oh, maybe I'm good. No, 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 no. Now someone might misunderstand everything that I'm saying right now. And why does God always want us to feel bad about ourselves? It's not about feeling bad about ourselves. It's about understanding that I really don't have anything. I can't do anything for myself. Here, Allah has given me permission to do certain things for myself. I take care of myself. I take care of my family because of His permission. But Yawm al-Qiyamah, the hands are going to be empty. We have nothing. It's only Him who's going to be able to do anything for us. We have to have mercy on ourselves. It's not about making us feel bad. It's about making us be real about things. He's giving us that reality. Another example that I want to give you. Imam Sajjad in his dua, he says some cool things before it too. I can't not say them. That, oh Allah, like you, the way you deal with me when I do wrong things is like as if you want me to like, cover things up for me, like so I don't feel too bad. You're supposed to like send punishment right away. You don't. And so I forget. كَأَنَّكَ أَغْفَلْتَنِي وَمِنْ عُقُوبَاتِ الْمَعَاصِي جَنَّبْتَنِي. It's like you're putting aside the punishments for the bad things that I do. I'm not going to be worried about them. حَتَّى كَأَنَّكَ اسْتَحْيَيْتَنِي. Whoa. The mercy that you show me is so much that when I'm sinning, instead of me having istihya from you and being afraid of you or feeling ashamed, it's as if you feel ashamed and that's why you're staying away and not doing the punishment to me. كَأَنَّكَ اسْتَحْيَيْتَنِي. Ilahi, this is the part that we need to talk about now. It's relevant to what we're talking about. Ilahi, my Lord, لم أعصك حين عصيتك وأنا بربوبيتك جاحد. Let me make this clear. That when I disobeyed you, so it's assuming that I've disobeyed Allah. And of course the Imams don't disobey Allah, so they're teaching us through this dua how to look at things, right? They're giving us that perspective and outlook. I didn't sin and disobey you when I disobeyed you while I am denying your lordship. No, that's not why I sinned. That's not why I disobeyed you. I didn't Shaitan might have disobeyed you like that he doesn't feel that you understand everything, and that's why he started explaining things to you about how fire is better than clay. But for me, it's different. There's no denial that you are the Lord. Then what is it? وَلَا بِأَمْرِكَ مُسْتَخِفْ. And it's also not because I take lightly what you say. You see, they're telling us if you're going to make, this is so cool. They're telling us if you're going to make mistakes, make them the right way. You with me? Oh Allah, He's not saying I'm not going to sin, or the fact that I sinned, I'm not going to acknowledge things like that. He doesn't say that. He said, I sinned. But just want to let you know that when I sinned, I didn't do it out of me denying your lordship. 1 or 2, me taking lightly your commands. I take serious your commands, and I acknowledge your lordship. You are the boss, and you are everything, and everything's in your hands. Then what was the problem that you sinned if it's none of these things? He says, let me add to it more. وَلَا لِعُقُوبَتِكَ مُتَعَرِّض. It's not like I feel like, I need to like put myself in the face of Allah's punishment. No, I'm scared of your punishment. I'm not after that either. Because if you remember in the Quran, it talks about how sometimes people would tell their prophets, if you're telling the truth, tell Allah to send His punishment right now. They're putting themselves in the face of that punishment. Bismillah, where is it? He says, no, that's not me either. وَلَا لِوَعِيدِكَ مُتَهَاوٍ. And it's not that I'm taking lightly your promises that you're going to punish if we disobey you. None of that. Then what was it? لَكِنْ, 2 words, golden. خَطِيئَةٌ عَرَضَتْ. It was just a mistake I made. In other words, I take full responsibility. In this dunya that we live in, you're not supposed to do this. When you make a mistake, you're supposed to justify it. Try to get away with it. Try to prove that, no, it was your fault, not my fault. That's in this dunya when we're dealing with normal people, right? We want to get away with something and get off the hook. This is how we'll deal with people. We'll try to force this idea that it wasn't my fault, I'm not sorry, it wasn't my responsibility, things like that. But the Imam, he does the exact opposite with Allah. Nothing's hidden from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? So he says to him, it was a mistake I made. I admit it. خطيئة. If this is not the way to go, the Imams aren't going to teach us like this. Just saying. It was خطيئة عرضت. It was a mistake that just happened. وسولت لي نفسي. And yes, because it was something that was pleasurable, desirable, I felt like it's a good thing that I can do. وغلبني هواي. And my willpower was overpowered by my desires. That's what it was. And that is what it is, right, brothers and sisters? That is what it is when we make mistakes. And we're not talking about certain haram things. Even when I am angry at my mom or dad, or my wife or husband, and I say something I'm not supposed to say, in that moment, you could let the world burn in flames, but you have to say what you have to say. That's how good it feels. It's like you're extinguishing a fire in you when you do that. Yeah, you feel relieved after that. When you say something back, you hurt their feelings. Your mom told me to do this. Yeah, but your mom did this, remember? And you hurt her feelings, you hurt his feelings because of that. You feel better after that. Your willpower is overpowered by what? By that which you feel is going to make you feel better. So it's not just certain harams. We're talking every haram here. But in the end, if that happened, oh Allah, it happened because, yes, I was going to feel better after it. That's what it was, I admit it. Assalamu alaikum. We also have in our du'as, it says, where the Imams speak to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, once again in that loving way, the way lovers speak to each other. Have you noticed how when there are lovers, when they speak to each other, they just take the other person up, 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 up. They could care what they think about themselves and what they can say about themselves. They're always praising her or him, whoever they're in love with, right? The Imams are like that with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So far we saw that. Analladhi, analladhi, analladhi. Right? Here it says in another dua, and you guys have probably heard this, some of you, that Allah, when he's speaking to Allah, he says, oh Allah, I made mistakes, yes. You're not going to forgive me? Huh? You're not going to forgive me? He doesn't say, you have to forgive me in a way that you owe it to me. He doesn't say, it's because I felt that I don't have to listen to this one because it doesn't make sense to me. That's why I didn't listen to you. None of that stuff. He says, you're not going to forgive me? Okay, wait a minute. Let's do something here. Let's do a little calculation here. If you have mercy, O Allah, this is actually in our du'as, by the way. If you are all merciful and you're not going to forgive me, the sinner, that means what? That means your mercy and forgiveness is for who? Is for the good people who don't sin, right? So he tells Allah in a loving way. He says how lovers talk to each other. He's like, if your mercy is for the ones who are always good, then who is going to forgive? Who are the sinners supposed to go to for forgiveness? In other words, acknowledging I'm a sinner, I've made mistakes, acknowledging that you can fix the problem, but just saying this to remind him, but not remind him, remind myself that he is still the one to fix everything, fixing the perspective again. To the point, brothers and sisters, now this is interesting, and I don't want us to misunderstand this. We have hadith even. Remember I said in the beginning of the lecture, Allah is sensitive towards certain things and not as sensitive towards other things. Don't push those buttons at least. He is so sensitive to this arrogance. Sensitive in the sense that he knows how much it can hurt us. Or else it doesn't hurt him if everyone in the world says, I am Lord, I am God. Who cares? For him, who cares? But he says, in this hadith it says, that sometimes because this is such a sensitive thing for Allah and he cares so much for us, he might sometimes in a way put us in a situation where we will actually fall into sin. Not that he forces us to sin, brothers and sisters, no. But he knows in a certain situation, I'll probably mess up. But when I mess up, at least I know that I'm not a perfect person. Versus a person who is good, but as a result of them being so good, they slowly and subtly and not even knowingly, not knowing, will develop a little bit of ujb and arrogance in them. This arrogance, once the seed is planted, it can grow into the worst tree ever. And its fruits are the worst fruits. Because he loves us so much, he puts us in a situation sometimes that, hey, I might mess up. So that what happens? So at least I don't become arrogant ever in my life, because there are righteous people out there whose their test is this arrogance factor right here that I'm talking about. That can really take you down. Who was the first person who messed up like that? Shaitan again. Righteous. The first opportunity that came up, this happened. Allah doesn't want us to become like that. Instead of letting us climb the ladder of greatness, even sometimes, if He sees that there's a potential in me, that I might fall later if I go too high, and I will break something in me, and I will snap something up in me, He won't sometimes even let us get too high, because He loves us so much. And then as a result of that, I turn to Him, I speak to Him like this, that, oh Allah, I'm sorry, I don't know what happened, it was a mistake, it was my fault. Because yeah, it is your fault. It is my fault. I did the wrong thing. But at least I'm admitting it. At least I'm speaking to Him like this. That matters more to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then He'll probably turn back to you, Allah, and say that, okay, you didn't mess up, at least regarding the things that are more sensitive, I'm more sensitive towards. Okay, the other thing that you did istighfar, I forgive you. And a person who asks for forgiveness, at-ta'ibu min al-dhanb, kaman la dhanba lah. A person who does tawbah is as if they didn't even do that sin to begin with. So you're good to go, but here the arrogance didn't grow in you, at least. Sometimes that's how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala works. This arrogance, this kibriya, this I know better, this I don't care what He says, this it's not important what He says, this I don't even believe He said it, this is the more dangerous thing. So if we're going to make a mistake in life, what do? At least we make the mistake the right way, with this perspective, that okay, oh Allah, I'm sorry, this is my fault. That's cheat code number 1. Okay? For 9 days, talked about what we need to do. Tonight, say, look, I know we sounded all harsh and everything, but look, this, at least take care of this one. If you're struggling. Number 2, if you're struggling, is something that no one dares question. No one dares question. I'm going to share with you 1 or 2 stories regarding this second one, just so we get an idea. Recite a salawat, please. Sometimes certain things will have an effect on this dunya of ours, and how good a person we become in this dunya. Sometimes it will have an effect on our akhirah. This one thing that can have an effect on both is the matter of cheat code number 2, Aba Abdullah al-Husayn. What he did was so great that anyone who kind of connects themselves to him, it's going to do them a lot in this life and the hereafter. I've said this story before elsewhere. Very quickly I'll say it here as well. There's a person by the name of Rasul Turk. Okay? This guy was a thug. This guy was looting. This guy was stealing, hurting people, stuff like that. The police were afraid of him. This is like maybe, I don't know, 50, 60, 70, 80 years ago or something. I don't know exactly how long, but in this century, or in the past century. And there's a picture or 2 of him as well, and I know where he's buried in Qum. So this Rasul Turk, he was this kind of person. Everyone's running away. This guy is always walking around with a dagger, with a machete or something with him. Everyone's scared of this guy. But then he does have one thing that he has respect for, Imam Hussein alayhi salam. So this guy who's a drinker, thug, he drinks, all that kind of stuff, comes to the Majlis of Abu Abdullah one night. And long story short, they have him leave. But not just walk up to him, tell him to go, to get him angry or anything. Like very slowly, one person, everyone knows what this guy is all about. They come to him and say, one person comes to him like, hey, like, do you think this is the place for you? And so he gets very angry. He says, I got very angry. There's a book on his life actually. He says, I got very angry and I was about to cause commotion. But this is the majlis of who? Of Abu Abdullah. As I bottled it up. Remember a few days ago I said some of these urafa become urafa as a result of bottling up their anger. That's it. One haram they don't do. Nothing crazy, brothers and sisters. Bottles it up out of respect for Abu Abdullah al-Husayn. He leaves. His heart broken. And when your heart is broken, that's when Allah is going to be with you. So he says he went home that night. In the morning, like before Fajr time or something, he gets knocks on his door, opens the door. It's the guy that was running the Husayniyah in the center or whatever it was. He says, what happened? What's going on? He's like, no, he says, what have you seen? What have you done? Something like that he asks him. He says, I'm not, or what have you dreamed? The guy says, listen, I've dreamed about something and I just want to tell you, like, you can come to our majlis. Don't stop coming to our majlis. And this Rasul Turk is like, I'm not going to let you go until you tell me what you've dreamed. And insistence until this person finally tells him that, yeah, I saw a dream just tonight. It is day of Ashura and you are guarding the tents of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. Now there's certain wording that I'm not going to use because it might be a little disrespectful that he uses. He says, I saw you as a specific animal guarding the tents of Imam Hussein. That's what I saw. And I know that you have a rank in Imam Hussein's eye. This Rasul Turk, just by hearing this, he says, really? Me? The watchdog of Imam Hussein? Is that even, what an honor? And he can't believe that this has happened. And it must be true because that guy's not going to come in the middle of the night, knock on his door telling him this. They don't even want him to come to the center, right? They don't want him to come. They had him leave the night before. So it must be something going on that now they're coming and telling him to come back. They feel like things are not in their hands and it's not that they have permission, they're the ones who give permission for somebody to come or not. This one incident changed this person's life forever. Why? Imam Hussein. Don't mess with Imam Hussein. I can't sit up here. It's so hard for me. I can't sit up here and sound like there's no hope for somebody who sheds tears for Abu Abdullah Hussein because they don't have actions in their life. I can't. It's too much, man. There's too many stories. There's too many things that our greats have said. So yes, the hadiths have said you have to have actions. But look, brothers and sisters, if we don't have that, we can at least have these things. Another story I want to share with you. That person, by the way, changed for the better for the rest of his life. This guy was such an abid. They say to the point that we have hadith that when you're in the masjid, pray in different spots of the masjid because each spot is going to do like shafa'ah for you on the day of judgment or something along those lines. To the extent this guy is so meticulous about his spirituality, he makes sure to pray in every spot of masjids that he goes in. He never prays in the same spot twice. His life changed forever for the better. So it can affect you in this life, give you motivation. That's the point. That's one of the points of all these majalis that we attend, is that the love of Imam Hussein gives us something that nothing else can give us. That's one. Another one, I heard recently, this story, I heard it from one of the ulama as well, one of the great ulama that's alive today. He says that someone was visiting and he had majalis, he was lecturing 10 nights in a certain place. And after the majalis were over, we were going back and we were driving through Qum. And we said, let's stop at Allama Tabatabai's home, pay him some respect before we go. So they go and visit Allama Tabatabai. So you have the person who speaks and recites for Imam Hussein, and that Ayatollah as well, and maybe one or two other people visiting Allama Tabatabai, rahmatullah, this great figure. Allama Tabatabai, when they go in and he sees this as an opportunity, I have somebody right now in my home that recites majalis for Abu Abdullah. So Allama Tabatabai says, can you recite Masa'ib of Imam Hussein for me? There's many stories of Allama Tabatabai and his relationship with Imam Hussein, by the way. Can you recite for me? He says, yes, I'll recite for you, whatever you say. He says, sit on this chair and recite for us. And so this person says, I started reciting. I recited, and he was weeping heavily, not normal, heavily, and striking his leg. And then I reached a line which is a beautiful line. Actually, it's in Farsi, and I don't remember it. I'm not that good at poetry. But this line, some people say, is so great and so powerful. And so Allama Tabatabai, when he says, when I recited and I reached that point, when he recited and reached that point, Allama Tabatabai said, a'id, which means do i'ada, repeat it once. He's weeping heavily. Repeat it again. Third time. Fourth time, and this musibah he was reciting the musibah of Ali al-Akbar for Allama Tabatabai. After it's all over, Allama Tabatabai says something here which shows us the power and the greatness of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Tells him, tells the one reciting that that line that you recited, if I could give all of my tafsir of Al-Mizan, which he spent 20 years of his life on, by the way, give that in return for this line of poetry, I would do so if I could. But the thing is, the poetry, it wasn't that person's poetry. Someone else's poetry. And they say, this poetry is from so-and-so who has a lot of bad poetry too, just saying. You know what he says? He says, do you think that a person who has a line like this for Imam Hussein, that on the day of judgment, Abu Abdullah is not going to take his hand? So all these nights, brothers and sisters, we've been going through what the Ahlul Bayt expect of us. That is true. And it is very true, and it is very important, and I'm not going to retreat from that either. But on this last night, I just want to say that there are certain things out there that if you can't take those things serious and you can't take life serious, at least don't miss out on these. Number one, always have humility before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's better to say, Allah, I just like to do this and it's because of my weak willpower that I'm doing it, but it has nothing to do with you. You still have the loftiest status in my eyes, and everything you say is right, everything you do is right. It's better to do that than to say, it's not a bad thing that I'm doing because I don't even believe it's a bad thing. We have to be careful about that. That's number one. If I'm going to make a mistake, at least make that mistake in the right way, with the right perspective. And number two, do not forget about Abu Abdullah al-Hussein and what he can do. Because the tear that I shed, and I said this one of these nights as well to all of you, the tear that we shed is not very significant. But what he did was so great that Allah shows respect to the slightest affiliation and association with Abu Abdullah al-Hussein alayhi salam. Having said that, let us go to Karbala one last night, inshallah. Sallallahu alayka ya Abu Abdullah. After all the companions were gone, I'm just going to read off of this. It says that Husayn ibn Ali returned to the tents on the day of Ashura. Everyone is gone. The thirst is overtaking, is destroying everybody. Abu Abdullah al-Hussein should be broken by now, because every single beloved member of his family of the men has been, except for Ali ibn al-Hussein, has been martyred in the worst of ways. And this is a wali of Allah, and he knows who Ali al-Akbar is when Ali al-Akbar goes. He knows what Abbas is. So this Hussein that's supposed to be broken, but they said as he came out and fought the enemy, it's as if he hadn't lost anybody. What are you doing, Hussein? Are you just acting or something when you're weeping? Because you were weeping like that, but now you're coming out like a lion, as if nothing has happened. It says Hussein returned to the tents. I hate to say it like this, but brothers and sisters, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves Abu Abdullah so much. Every little thing that he has, Allah takes from him, so that he can grow more, if that's even the right thing to say. Subhanallah, as the day goes on, as the musibahs pile up on each other, they say he became brighter and brighter, and his face was more radiant. Allah wants him like this. There are still some people out there, there are still certain things out there that Hussein might love. Allah's going to take those from him too. He took all of them. The last one maybe being Qasim ibn al-Hasan. That's an orphan. That is the son of al-Hasan. If it took him a while to reach Ali al-Akbar's body, Hussein, when Qasim called out, Hussein was there right away, before they can behead Qasim. It says Hussein returned to the tents on the day of Ashura with a bent back. Abbas fell and he said, Al-an inkasara dhahri, that my back broke now. With a bent back, when Lady Zainab approached him with Abdullah the infant, there's one more left that Abu Abdullah loves so much, saying, "O Abu Abdullah, the milk of the mother of this baby has dried. Take him to these people so that they might give him a bit of water." So Imam Hussein went towards them, but walking and not on Dhul Janah. They say he wore the turban of Rasulullah He wore the cloak of Rasulullah. These people are waiting for Hussein to come full armor, fight. He comes out with these, without his horse. What's he after? What's he want to say? When he gets their attention like this and comes out, he was shading Abdullah from the sun. He called out, "O people." And everyone looked to him. Brothers and sisters, the cloak goes aside. Behold, Ali al-Asghar. But what an Ali al-Asghar? Ali al-Asghar who is dying already. It's over. Even if they take care of him, he might not survive. He says, "O people, if the older ones are guilty of a crime, what is the crime of the little ones? This little one, what has he done wrong?" He put the cloak aside, and lo and behold, a baby. "Ama tarawnahu kayfa yataladha atasha." Do you not see how he opens and closes his mouth like a fish out of water that's about to die? This is so hard on a mother or father. I remember when I had a child years ago, one time I looked at my daughter when she wanted her mother to feed her, and I said, "Let me see what it looks like." It's horrible, brothers and sisters. It is horrible to put it off for 5 to 10 minutes as this baby weeps and cries, let alone this baby reaching a point it has no more energy. This baby, you don't know, is it alive? Is it dead? It's moving, not moving. This is the most precious and valuable of blood, most innocent of blood on the plains of Karbala. The people began arguing amongst themselves. It says some said, "Quench the baby." Others said, "No." Others said, "Don't leave any members of the family alive." Umar ibn Sa'ad, they say, sees that the army is splitting up and getting divided now. It says he looked to Harmala and he told him, "Oh Harmala, put an end to the argument." Harmala says, "I understood what the commander meant, so I put the arrow in my bow." Brothers and sisters, time as if slows down here. He puts the arrow in the bow and began thinking what my target should be. The father, the son, which one? All of a sudden the neck of the baby got my attention as it was shining like silver. The baby had passed out from thirst. Brothers and sisters, when you're watching a baby sleep and all of a sudden it jumps from its sleep, you feel sorry for that baby, right? He says, "I let the arrow go and it slaughtered the baby min al-udhuni ila al-udhun." From ear to ear, this arrow went through the neck of Ali. They say it was a 3-pronged arrow. 3-pronged arrows don't pierce, they slice. But this is the neck of Ali and al-Asghar. It is not the chest of Abu Abdullah. It is not the chest or the eye of Abbas to lead an arrow like this. This is the neck of Ali and al-Asghar, a weak, narrow, small neck. So brothers and sisters, I hate to say it like this, and Sahib al-Zaman forgives me, that they say Ali and al-Asghar's head was hanging from its skin. It says they saw it hanging from its skin, and when the baby felt the heat of the arrow, it jumped and grabbed the arm of Abu Abdullah and began fluttering like a bird that flaps its wings when it is killed. It says that Hussein takes the blood of this infant and throws it to the skies. What is he going to do? He's being broken as if he says, no, it's easy on me. Why? هَوَّنَ عَلَيَّ مَا نَزَلَ بِي أَنَّهُ بِعَيْنِ اللَّهِ. The only thing that makes this musibah easy on me is the fact that, oh Allah, my love, you are watching. Hussein, if this is what they're going to do to your baby, it's over. They're not going to have mercy on you. And so they say, he doesn't know. Should I take this baby back to the tent? Its mother is waiting. But if I take it back to the mother, what is she going to see? What's going to happen? They say he takes him out behind the tents, digs a little grave for his Ali. Digs a little grave and buries Ali there. Now you can sleep. Now you can sleep comfortably. Now you'll be quenched by your grandfather, Rasulullah. He comes back. It's all over, Hussein. Abbas is gone. There's no one to protect the tents. If these people had a little bit of mercy, at least they would show the mercy to Ali and al-Asghar. It's time to go, Hussein. And so the time for wida' comes. Ya Zainab, Ya Kulthum, alaykunna minni salam. Salam unto you. It's time for me to go. Each of these women comes, has their conversation. Lady Zainab, she's not calm. Abu Abdullah calms her down. Says, this is for Islam. I want you to be careful. Don't do anything that's going to hurt the image of Islam. It's time to go. They say he mounts his horse. And some say as he's trying to get the horse to go, the horse won't go. Why? Because they look down and they see there's a little daughter holding on to the four legs of the horse. What is going through the heart of this girl? And they say, Abu Abdullah dismounts the horse. Habibti, it's okay. Astaslamta lil maut. Oh father, you're submitting to death. Yes, what am I supposed to do? As these conversations between the men and women and children are happening, and Hussein, they say, Umar ibn Sa'd and his people, they say, Hussein is hiding with his women, shower them with arrows. They didn't even let Hussein say goodbye properly. And so Hussein tells the women to go into the tent. Everyone seeks shelter in the tents. And Abu Abdullah goes, they say he fights valiantly, destroys them, comes back every now and then with his horse to let the women and children know that I'm alive. Allahu Akbar. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. But a time comes when Dhul Janah, this horse returns, but there is no sound of Hussein. You cannot hear the voice of Hussein. They put the tents aside. They see a saddle on the side. The bloody mane of Dhul Janah. فرفع على القناة رأس الحسين ألا لعنة الله على القوم الظالمين وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون والعاقبة للمتقين وعجل اللهم في فرج مولانا صاحب الزمان صلوا على محمد وآل محمد.
Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. Just a reminder that we are hosting the final Q&A session outside in the tent. You are welcome to join us if you'd like. Sisters, if you're staying for the Arabic lecture, we ask that you please proceed downstairs. Brothers, if you're staying for neither, we ask that you proceed to the hall to make room for those coming in for the Arabic lecture. Also, reminder that Al-Huda's Arabic Ashura program will start tomorrow at 10 a.m., although the Markaz will be open as early as 9. The English program will start at 10:30 a.m. tomorrow. Assalamu alaikum.